Who do you guys have at number 1? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Hopeful Chewbacca back at the Church of Chewbacca, and today we're going to go over the top 10 42 series players from the team Affinity. As you guys can see so far, I have the AL West and NL Central done, but I'm going to give you my top 10 list of all 30 teams. I'm going to let you know there's some honorable mentions on this list as well as the top 10. Let's get into it. Honorable mentions. Jack Flaherty gets an honorable mention here because he pretty much is a very accurate pitcher, has the best nines out of the 42 series cards. He's obviously the St. Louis Cardinals player for the 42 series in these team affinities, right-handed throwing, gone in depth on all of these cards. I just think he has good nines. He has very good control of his pitches, and that just makes him in the honorable mentions. A guy with good control that you can get for free. That's why Jack Flaherty's sitting where he's at in the honorable mentions here. Let's move on to the next guy. Mike Yastrzemski's one of the next guys on the honorable mentions here, and it's pretty much just the simple fact that there's so many other outfielders. I do like he has his swing, and he's left-handed, can play all over the outfield. However, he's probably better in left field, but his primary is right field. He is going to give you gold defense in right or left field. Very good swing, good power. He just is kind of sitting outside of there because defensively, he doesn't have that great of an arm, and I think that hurts his card a lot. And he doesn't have like the same hitting that you'll see that a Yordan Alvarez has that did make it into the top 10. And that's why Yastrzemski's sitting where he's at, because there's just other better left-handed outfielders that are going to make the top 10 list. Next up, we have Giancarlo Stanton coming in honorable mentions. Big-bodied right-handed outfielder for the Yankees. And the biggest thing here is he has tremendous power, but with the vision being low, not being the best speed or defensive outfielder, there's some other guys that were better options, I think, to put in the top 10 in the outfield. He's kind of sitting in the same spot that Yastrzemski was. There's just better outfielders in the top 10, as well as you have to include some infielders and some pitching as well. So that's why Stanton's just sitting right outside the top 10. Let's move on to the final honorable mention. The last honorable mention is Dominic Smith. I think he was the closest to making it into the top 10, to be honest, out of the 4 honorable mentions. That's why I included him last. Another left-handed bat, kind of like Yastrzemski. About the same numbers, except he actually hits righties better than lefties, where Yastrzemski's reversed. Same thing, though, he's kind of slow. The thing that had Dominic Smith almost making the top 10 is the fact that he can also play first base. He's just not an outfielder, but you do lose that center field ability. But none of the 3 outfielders that were in the honorable mention should be playing center field anyway. And I do think Dominic Smith has the best swing out of the 3 honorable mention guys, if I had to take my personal take on his swing. But the fielding is not very good at all. That's what's really holding him back. He can't play first base, though, so that was a little bit more flexibility compared to some of the other guys that are in the honorable mentions. Still didn't make the top 10, though. We're going to break into the top 10 right now. Number 10. Taking the 10th spot is Franmil Reyes. Starting off this top 10, great power hitter, right-handed batter, can play right field and left field. The fact he can't play center field is kind of a downside for him. He's a little bit slower at 47 speed, but he's a tremendous power bat. But just like the 3 outfielders that were in the honorable mentions that we went over, even though he's a power bat, the vision's a little bit better than those guys. He has a very good swing. He's just not great in the field, and there's better options in the outfield than this Reyes. There's a lot of outfielders in the 42 series, and I really do have to say that Franmil Reyes is coming in the 10th spot just due to his lack of defensive prowess, even though he's a tremendous power hitter with pretty good contact, decent vision. Just one of those guys that just falls a little bit shorter of some of the other outfielders that are further up on this top 10 list. Number 9. Coming in the 9th spot is Sixto Sanchez. I think he's the best pitcher in the 42 series and the only pitcher on this top 10 list. I think a lot of the pitchers have too low of 9s or don't have great pitch control or pitch velocity or whatever else. I would say that it probably goes Sanchez, Flaherty, then you could talk maybe Castillo, and then Luzardo. If I left anybody out on that list, let me know. I mean, I don't think Marquez is a very good choice at all. I think he probably won't be in your rotation. I think the 4 guys I just mentioned could be in your rotation, but I think Sanchez is the cream of the crop for those guys. He's a sinker baller that is a power pitcher because he has outlier 2 on his card. He can hit 100 miles per hour on his sinker. He throws his 4-seam fastball at 98 miles an hour, but his 9s are very low. That's what's holding this card back, as well as he has some control issues. But I do think for a power pitcher that you can get for free, he's an excellent card. That's why he's taking a 9th spot and the only pitcher in the top 10. Number 8. So I think these top 8 guys start to become preference of who you like as a player for their swing, as well as kind of what they do in the field. I have Perez at the 8th spot here. He is the only catcher that's in the 42 series, and that's something to say about him, but overall, he's a very good player. Good contact for a catcher, great power, good vision, then his defense is above average at 76 plus and everything defensively. A little bit slow, but all catchers are relatively slow. The secondary or first base is pretty impressive. Perez is coming in just at the 8th spot, mostly because he's the only catcher option, as well as he's one of the top 3 catchers in the game right now behind Piazza and Rutschman. So that's what's putting him in the top 10 here. Number 7. With the plethora of shortstops that came out in the 42 series cards, Bo Bichette is going to come in the 7th spot. There's going to be some shortstops that are ahead of him that have maybe a little bit more position versatility, maybe a little bit better fielding, maybe are switch hitters. We'll see what happens of the cards above him. But Bo Bichette, you could argue that he's the best 42 series card, or that he's at least the best shortstop. But I think it's based off of how much you like his swing. I'm not a huge fan of Bo Bichette's swing, to be honest with you. I do think he was the best card in the AL East, though, in my opinion. He can also play second base and third base, which allows for some versatility. His fielding's not the best out of the shortstops, but he has very balanced hitting and not the best power, but above average power, 74 plus. Overall, I think this is a very, very good card. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that rates him in the top 5 or maybe even in the top 3 for their 42 series cards. I got him at 7. Number 6. The Dodgers first baseman Max Muncy's taking the 6th spot here. Left-handed batter, right-handed throwing. Can play second base and third base, so he can pretty much play all over the infield except for shortstop. Has a very nice glitchy swing for a lefty. His contact is not the best. It's below average, if I have to be honest, for somebody that's 88 overall. But he has tremendous power at 100 power versus righty, 97 power versus lefty. The 57 vision is a little bit low. His fielding is actually above average. I mean, the 71 arm strength is great with the 72 accuracy. He has good reaction at 81 with the 59 speed, enough to play third base. Personally, I like Muncy on the corners. I don't like him too much as a second baseman. I do think at least one of the guys that are higher up on the list, some of them is definitely a better second baseman. Actually, probably 2 of the guys above him are better second basemen, and then one of them is definitely a better third baseman. So secondary position-wise, Muncy would kind of be plugged into first base if I had to put him on my lineup for the 42 series cards, which isn't a bad position to be. I just think the 5 guys ahead of him are just better cards than he is, in my opinion. Number 5. The Tigers utility man that's primary as shortstop, Niko Goodrum, starts off the top 5 here. And I think there's going to be some people that think he should maybe even be higher up on the list. He's a switch hitter, obviously right-handed throwing, can play not only shortstop as his primary, but first, second, third base, left field, center field, and right field. Literally any position that's not catcher or pitcher. And you could even put him in there at pitch if you want. I don't think he'd do very well as a catcher. But the thing about him is defensively, at all of those positions, he's going to be at least gold, if not a diamond fielder, and that is huge. He does not have the most accurate arm at 56 for sure, but if you use button accuracy, it's not an issue. But he has 80 speed, 92 fielding, 95 reaction, so at shortstop, second base, he has tremendous range and a strong enough arm to make throws deep in the hole if you need to make it. He can also play third base, first base. He can play in the outfield, whether it's center field even. With 80 speed, maybe not the most ideal center fielder, but can definitely play center field. His swing is very glitchy. The only thing about him is that his contact is not the best against righties. However, he has great contact against lefties, so that lefty-righty matchup is going to be excellent for him. The righty-lefty matchup isn't going to be as good, but he does have more pop, so it's one of those like give and take, like yeah, less contact, but more power. However, overall, this Niko Goodrum's a very good card, has a lot of versatility. Niko Goodrum, I got him at 5. You could have him higher up on your list. Let me know. I'd like to hear from you guys. Number 4. I think this pick right here, for me at least, is either you hate him or you love him. Grisham has a ridiculously good swing, left-handed batter for the Padres, primary position center field, can play left field or right field, and he has the arm strength, the ability to catch all the fly balls in the outfield, to play all 3 of the outfield positions, shown by his defense at 96 fielding, 74 arm strength, 89 arm accuracy, 98 reaction with 92 speed. He's going to flag down a lot of fly balls in the outfield. He will catch everything in the gaps, not in the gaps, flags things down, has good animations when he's going to catch the ball. Already mentioned he has a glitchy swing. The thing is, his hitting attributes are not the best, but he plays way above them because his swing is so good. The only concern really for me in the card at all is the vision at 56. If he had better vision, he probably would be a little bit higher up on the list. He'd probably take the 2 spot, to be honest. But the vision's holding him at 4. I think he's probably the best outfielder on the list. There are possibly a couple outfielders ahead of him on the list. We'll have to see. But it's because they're such better hitters than he is that you almost can't avoid them. You got to find a place to play them in the field. Whereas Grisham defensively, I don't think there's another outfielder as good as he is in the 42 series. Even if you look at the 10 pre-order cards, I think Grisham is the best outfielder, as in pure outfielder defensively. Number 3. This is probably some guy's number 1 card, to be honest, because he has such a great glitchy swing on top of the power and the contact. Really, the only thing that's a downside for this Yordan Alvarez hitting-wise is his vision's 54. But the left-handed batter that plays for the Houston Astros can also play right field on top of the left field that is his primary. Great power, obviously 95 plus. His contact is ridiculous at 89 plus. The vision, already mentioned, 54. And on top of the fielding's not great. 42 speed, 63 reaction, 59 fielding. You almost have to kind of hide him in the field and left field and hope they don't hit the ball at him a lot. He doesn't get good jumps. It's not like he plays above those fielding attributes. Like, he's bad in the field. However, this is a card that could be a pinch hitter for you against right-handed pitching or left-handed pitching for a month or so, at least in the game. Especially once you start to get some parallels for the card, his hitting only becomes better. He's going to be at 100 plus power from both sides. He'll be at over 100 contact versus righty. The speed goes up, the fielding goes up a little bit if you get him all the way to the 5th parallel. So it's one of those things where maybe he becomes a sufficient outfielder, but I just don't see it. That's what I have him coming in number 3. I just don't think he can be an everyday player for you. But I do think that you have to keep him at least on the bench long term because his bat is so good. Maybe you put him in the beginning of games and bring in a defensive sub later if you have a lead. But Alvarez coming in at number 3 on the list just because his fielding is so poor. Number 2. This pick right here just is where personal preference come in. I have Tim Anderson at number 2 because I think he's the best shortstop out of the 42 series in my personal opinion. I do think you could argue that Goodrum's better than him. I think you could argue that Bichette's better than him. And I wouldn't be mad at you if you think those things. I can even see you arguing that somebody like Dansby Swanson's better than he is. That's fine. I think these shortstops are all very good and it's about personal preference. I got Tim Anderson as the best shortstop, and I think his attributes are very good. I think he has one of the best swings for a right-handed hitter in the game. He can also play second base and third base, allowing you for the same flexibility as anybody else that plays shortstop in this list or in the 42 series, except for obviously the Goodrum that gets to play all over the place. The contact and power versus lefty is amazing. Some of the best in the game at 114 contact versus lefty, 85 power. Then he has pretty decent numbers against righties at the 81 and 70 for the contact and power respectively. The vision 71, so he has some of the best vision out of the shortstops. On top of his fielding and speed is good. 84 speed, 73 reaction, 75 arm accuracy, 84 arm, and 73 fielding. Like, that's more than sufficient. He can play all 3 of the defensive positions. I think shortstop-wise, he makes a lot of plays. He has good animations in the field. That's why I got him coming in number 2. Just personal preference by me, and I think his swing is one of the best and maybe the glitchiest out of all the shortstops. Number 1. Taking over the first spot, I have Joey Gallo. Left-handed batter, right-handed throwing. Obviously, a right fielder for the Texas Rangers. Can play first base, third base, left field, and center field. The biggest thing about this Joey Gallo is obviously I have +1 on all his attributes, so just -1 when you're looking at them if you can. Obviously, I can't take the parallel off of the card. But he has tremendous power at 108 plus, so originally he's 108 power versus righty, and he has 110 power versus lefty. The contact isn't the best. He has low contact and low vision, but if you put the barrel of the bat on the ball, it goes a long way. He hits everything ridiculously hard. But the thing about Gallo is he is a diamond fielder in all 5 of the positions that he can play. He has 95 fielding base, and then he has 99 arm strength, because that didn't get a +1. He has 98 accuracy on his arm, and he has 99 reaction to starter, 98 reaction. Doesn't matter, and he's 56 speed. But you can play him in either corner outfielders. If you play him at third base, he's one of the best third basemen. The only third baseman that's better than him in the 42 series is Cabrian Hayes. And if you haven't played with Cabrian Hayes at third base, you should try it out sometime because that dude just knocks everything down. It's ridiculous. Gallo's about the same thing. He has a much better arm than Hayes does. But in the outfield, I mean, you can't run on Joey Gallo. He has an absolute hose out there. It's defensively that does it for me with the Joey Gallo, on top of the tremendous power, on top of the glitchy swing he has. just one of the best cards you can possibly get in the 42 series. I have him as number 1. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Gallo should have got number 1, or do you think it should have been somebody else? Maybe you guys really like the Grisham or Bichette or Goodrum, or maybe you guys have Sixto Sanchez number 1. Who knows? Let me know in the comments down below who your number 1 is, and maybe who your top 10 is, the whole top 10, or at least your top 5. I'd like to hear from you guys and know your opinions. That's going to wrap up my top 10 list of the 42 series team affinities and who I got 1 through 10. I think Gallo, as I already mentioned, is the best card. And then Anderson. Let me know what your guys' list is, as I already mentioned. Love to hear from you guys. And as always, I appreciate all of the support. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with any of your friends that play MLB The Show 21. You guys have a great day and be safe.